because of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. I'm not going to call the pronouncement of the Supreme Court a judgment, because there is nothing that the pronouncement of the Supreme Court said that had anything to do with the law in Nigeria. It's a total abuse of the law of Nigeria. Everybody knows, all of us know that the Supreme Court is supposed to be final arbiter. The words of the Supreme Court are final. So the Supreme Court has assumed that because their words are final, they will import into these powers that they do not have, morally depraved decisions that clearly against the Constitution and the people of Nigeria. We're not just talking about Rivers State. For instance, does the Supreme Court really have jurisdiction to adjudicate on issues concerning local government elections? It's very clear. Local government elections adjudication ends at court of first instance, which is the High Court. So where did the Supreme Court derive its power in making pronouncement on elections, post-elections, litigation arising from the elections in Rivers State? Number two, how would the Supreme Court talk about something and adjudicate on a matter that was not before her? And the Supreme Court go on a flurry of its own to import matters that were not before her and start to make decisions on those matters. The issue of defection was not before the Supreme Court. The issue of defection is still at the High Court. So how did the Supreme Court get those matters into the Supreme Court to make pronouncement on it? Other than that, there were people behind the scene dictating to the Supreme Court what the Supreme Court ought to say. So they have said it. And I think the governor was in a haste to have accepted the judgment.
But that would be, if I may, that would be impugning on the integrity of the Supreme Court. So
yes, I am.
No, you cannot. No, Alhaji, we will not allow you impugn on the integrity of the Supreme Court. So
if the Supreme Court is wrong, if the Supreme Court is uncourt,
in your words, the Supreme Court
can just decide that you, as the person interviewing me, you should die, and immediately they go and kill you, they hang you, or you are sent to a firing squad because the Supreme Court said so.
That's why the Supreme Court.
Nobody can talk when there's glaring corruption.
Alhaji,
in his pronouncement.
Alhaji, yes, I understand what you're saying. I understand what the grievances are. The analogy you gave is not particularly the same. What we're saying is that
the analogy the same judgment. Was there no same judgment about defection in the case of Plateau State? That 13 or 15 people defected to a different party.
What I'm saying in essence is that you can disagree with the judgment of the Supreme Court, but you have to accept it without impugning on the integrity of the Supreme Court. That's what I'm saying.
I will not accept it. I will not.
This is the Supreme Court we're talking about. So let's move on from. So in addition, now that the Supreme Court has made its decision, and that is the final decision as far as we have now, I want you to speak to the current logjam we have found ourselves. I know there are peripheral issues, undercurrents all over this issue at the end of the day. And you are a stakeholder, you are a traditional ruler now, and there's a lot on the table. Peace in Rivers State is what we're heading to. And you've made allegations as to who is pushing what and all of that. We know all of that. Now, what do you think needs to be done? Because right now, there is grandstanding on both ends.
I think that the Supreme Court had given so much power to one side and had taken the sovereignty of the people of Rivers State away from the people of Rivers State, which was invested on the governor of Rivers State. Having said that, when Yaradua was sick, there was a need, because there was no constitutional provision as to what to do. There was a need for what they called, what did they call that? That they contrived something for the good of the people. The president should come out openly, because the first initiative he took did not work. It is not right for him. It is wrong for the president to come out to say that people should go and obey the judgment of the Supreme Court, the supremacy of the judiciary. When the law does not stand as the law, when the pronouncement of individual becomes the law, then it is dangerous. You are asking people to resort to self-help.
Right.
The president can save the situation by falling back to the doctrine of necessity, by calling both parties to a round table to resolve this lockdown. That's the only solution now. Because they have added more feathers to the feathers of the wings of Messiah Sawike and his followers to continue with their impunity, to continue. How can the Supreme Court give a judgment that have collective punishment of the people of Rivers State by seizing the allocation of Rivers State? By seizing the allocation of Rivers State. So as long as this crisis continues, the Rivers people will not enjoy the benefit of their resources, which is being given to the federal government.
All right.
And probably is given to them. Will not result. Our workers will not be paid. Our doctors will not be paid. Our teachers will not be paid. Nobody will be paid. Who does that? Why can that be done?
In the same token, Alhaji, would you say that Governor Fubara is also wrong for accepting and promising to implement the Supreme Court judgment?
Yes, I said Governor Fubara is very hasty and wrong. This judgment cannot stand the test of time. It cannot.
So what are you calling for?
It cannot stand the test of time. It's like apartheid. There are laws. Apartheid made laws that white and blacks cannot pass the same road. They cannot pass the same door. They cannot sit in the same hall. Was it not law? Where was the Supreme Court of South Africa, whatever nomenclature it is called, not adjudicating on such laws? When a law is bad, when a law is wrong, when a pronouncement is wrong, it is incumbent on the people to say this is wrong. And I am one of those people who are saying this thing is wrong. These judgments are not judgment based on the Constitution, based on common sense, based on equity, and based on the interest of the people of Nigeria.
So let me follow up with this question, Alhaji. When the Supreme Court affirmed the election of President Bola Tinubu, you celebrated it and you said, well, everybody should end all litigation. So that's the same Supreme Court given a judgment. So what has changed? Is it because it's not favoring you?
Asari today says something that is good today, and tomorrow it says something 360 degree bad, we should accept it because yesterday Dr. Asari said what is good, and today he's saying something 360 degree very, very terrible. We should accept it because he said something good before. The Supreme Court gave judgment on the election. I was on the field in that election, and I saw the election, and I know that Ahmed Bola Tinubu won that election. Even though today I might disagree with his policies, I might disagree, he won that election. And I cannot change from that. Supreme Court has been delivering judgment since it came into execution in Nigeria. Are we going to say that all the judgment given by the Supreme Court since it came into execution is bad just because this particular one is not even a judgment, it's a pronouncement that does not have any basis on the law, on the Constitution, on common sense, on equity, or the interest of the people?